Yeah, so we have one of those little doorbell thingies. I installed it last year. It's okay. Um, and yeah, me being old school, I had to first of all hardwired it. I'm not going to put up with batteries at all. I will not put up with batteries. I hate wireless devices. Can't stand them. Keyboards and mice, you're sitting there right in front of your screen. Have them wired. Just drives me nuts. People, it's one more point of failure for an IT person to have a wireless device. But yeah, so it had to be wired and it had to be local. So I mean, I don't mind cloud based. I don't mind cloud based, but so if somebody presses the doorbell, my phone rings. so, so that was fun. It's just I'm gonna put it over there. Hey, you kids, get off my grass. I like our little. This is going back to the crazy neighbors that we had in the past, where I had to install a CCTV, closed circuit television, whatever CC. I think it's whatever it's. Anyway, it's all wired, not wireless. Wired cameras, they're cheaper than wireless, and I don't have to worry about it. And I don't have to worry about power getting there. So we still have our PVR on the house. we didn't dismantle it when the people were forcibly told to sell their house and get out, which I will never ever, I think it's the irony of the entire century, for the little microcosm that it was. But we still have it now. To be said, we rarely look at it. Like it's the PVR is sitting there, the camera wires are plugged into it. It's running all the time. We got it set up for motion, so when something moves, we actually, sorry to go off on these tangents, we actually had a neighbor call us up, who we know pretty well, about a year ago, and says, "Do you still have that thing?" I'll go, "Absolutely." Do you look at it? No. Like I even forget the password to log into it. So, but they said, "Oh, we had somebody trying to break into the house last night." And they're around the corner from us, if you want to call it that way. So we are on the escarpment. There's a ravine behind our house. The ravine kind of goes south to north and it cuts to east. So it goes like this. So we have a very, rectangle-ish looking piece of property here with all these houses on it. And so we got our backyard pointing to the west. So our ravine goes down to the west. Their ravine goes down to the north. And they said somebody was trying to break into the house. And they took off towards the west, which is coming towards us. And so I said, "Oh, we're going to look." They gave us an approximate time. And we logged in. And our PVR has enough hard drive capacity to keep like a week and a half of stuff on it. A week and a half, 2 weeks of stuff on it. Whatever. So we got on there and they said, "Oh, well, I don't know what the actual time was, but it's 12:15 a.m. Okay, so we spool up 12:15, and then we have a motion, so it flags the motion, and then we see somebody walking through the backyard. Now he must have known we had cameras, because he just didn't walk. He was like as far away from the cameras, like right next to the fence, and he had his arm up like that. When you see him coming towards our backyard from over the fence, you see movement, and all of a sudden he took off that way. He went to the south. The further you go to the south, then it kind of opens up, and you got the train tracks, and the cops are not. And I said this, and we all know this living here. You got the ravine. You're not falling into the ravine. It's a pretty steep ravine. I mean, you can walk down there. Hopefully with climbing gear. But as soon as you get closer to the south end of our property, there's the TH&B. Well, I call it the TH&B. It's a CP train. Now, the train tracks go through. They come down the escarpment. And so as soon as you hit that, you can go anywhere. And off the roads, there's lots of trails. Bike trails. I used to go mountain biking back there. Like, the cops aren't going to be able to find you at all. So, and it's hard to track because there's the train tracks with the gravel and it's only one set of train tracks. But So I called up our neighbors when they asked me to check it out. They said, "Yeah, I see him, but there's no facial. He's hiding, blah, blah, blah." I'm not sure whatever became of that. The person didn't break in. He was kind of looking in the back window and kind of thing, kind of frightened the people living there. So I want to say this as a tangent again. I believe, and I think justifiably, that we live in a pretty safe area of Hamilton. Most Hamilton is pretty safe, but I think we live in a pretty safe area. The East Station for the police station for Hamilton East is right across the street. Like seriously, not from our road, but across the street, on the other side of the street. And the St. Joe's is just down the street too. So if you have a problem, you can walk there. Right, and Josh's school is just right over there. You can walk there. His high school's over there. You could potentially walk over there. The malls are over there. Blah blah blah. And for like, I don't remember the last time there was a break-in, a bona fide break-in that I heard about in this place, because a lot of people have security cameras. Now, a couple years back, again, one of our neighbors, not the same one, but one of my good friends that live here, he got himself a nice pickup truck, and a car stopped by at 2 o'clock in the morning. Two guys jumped out and tried to steal it, like because he parked in the driveway, and of course my cameras point like this, so it covers full coverage, but it covers down each side of the street. And the problem is that the headlights of the car was shining into the camera, so I couldn't get a license plate or a make or model. It's just a dark car at nighttime. But he asked if we had any footage of that. I gave it to him what we had, and the cops couldn't do anything with it. They said they were inept burglars. They couldn't break into the truck, and they eventually ran away. so that, and besides the neighbors, it's very rare when the police are in here. Very, very rare. I've been here for 20 years. Very, very few times. Usually for domestic disputes, which is the unfortunate thing that still happens, and it's sad. But the cops have been here for domestic disturbances. Some parties gone wild. Guess that's what happens when the parents leave. You got 150 units here, like, and the parents go away. Yeah, I've seen that. But other than that, rarely see a police officer here, except for the 8 years that we had with the neighbors. And then the police were here literally a lot, like seriously a lot. I was actually talking about this the other day. Once somebody is like, "Hey, cab." I'm sorry, I don't want to go off in this rant again. I understand the frustration, I really do. Bad apples and blah, blah, blah. My thing is, and this is from my social justice and moral virtues versus moral duties. We keep on saying my entire life that you cannot paint with the same brush an entire race or group or whatever people due to a few bad apples. Their response is, the bad apples are amongst people who should be able to do something about the bad apples. And I fully understand that, and I understand that conceptually. But my experience with that over 8 years, when we have dozens of police reports, the vast majority of those police reports, the police showing up to talk to us and deal with the issue as a crisis as it escalated over those 8 years, was as best as it could be considering the circumstances. It was as best as it could be considering the circumstances that we were in. The vast majority of those interactions with the police during the antagonism from the next door, the police officers who showed up came prepared. They read the notes. They read the history. They even showed me sometimes as we got into this, because I kept on asking questions. They put a little flag on our address saying, if this unit calls, please dispatch somebody faster than normal. This is a concerning, escalating issue. And the police officers did that in and of themselves. They said, we are going to do that. And the next time we called, they were here faster. They said, yeah, we saw that you were flagged, and we showed up. And they read the history between us and the neighbors. Now, the vast majority were fantastic. They couldn't do too much at that time, but the police report itself was important, and they filled it in wonderfully. And so when we went to court with these police reports, the judge read them. And then you're gone. So now, there were a few, very, very few during that entire time when we called the police because they're threatening. They're on phone, they're threatening. We recorded it. and we had to call the police, and the police showed up, and immediately, I'm not a good judge of character. Well, I am a pretty good judge of character, but I'm usually very, very, very lenient in not judging people harshly right off the bat. But the second the police officer was sauntering up the driveway, I knew we were going to be not in trouble, but that this wasn't going to be a good day for the police services to be here. And he had none. He had zero patience. He had zero compassion. Forget the compassion. You don't have to be compassionate as a police officer, but he had zero. He didn't care. He didn't care one whit what we were going through. He did not read up on it. He did not read it on the computer, type it in the computer. He did not do any of that. He just says, I'm here to maintain the peace, so you guys have to keep it down and be nice to your neighbors. I said, whoa, 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 I'm done with you now. And this is like 7 years into it. 7 years into us saying nothing, doing nothing to antagonize him at all, blah, blah, blah. And he comes to us and tells us that we have to be nicer to our neighbors. I said, you can leave now, sir. Thank you. Because, and this is after a 5-minute conversation of him just not listening, not at all listening to the tape, nothing. He wasn't remotely interested in any of it. He says, I'm just here to keep the peace. So I sent him on his way. I said, we'll wait till the next time something happens and we'll call it. But that was 1 or 2 times when they didn't do their homework before they showed up here. That on their records, the officers before them, who sat down with their lawyers, everything was clear as clear can be. Do not come to me and think this is the Hatfields and McCoys going on here. And this is where my nuanced idea of life comes in, where I try to understand the nuance of the situation. I try to not say, oh, it's cut and dry, black and white, blah, blah, blah. This is, you're wrong and you're right, blah, blah. No, that's not how the world works. The world is much more complex and much more nuanced than that. But when he saunters off the driveway and he's already got, I'm here to find sentiment to say, I'm here to maintain the peace. But understand where the disruption's coming from. It's hard to fix something if you don't know where the breakage is, and it wasn't coming from us. Guaranteed. All the 25,000 officers that came before you, dude, it's not us. It's not us. There was absolutely nothing that we did that would warrant this kind of retaliation and or attacks and or threats of violence and death. He didn't care. Didn't want to listen. Didn't want to know the history. So I don't need to know the history. You kind of do. If you're here to maintain the peace, you kind of need to know the history. Between us and them. It was just, but I got into it yesterday where somebody's, something, I can't remember exactly what happened was, there was a posting on the Hamilton, whatever board, some sort of Facebook group for Hamilton East End, that said blah blah blah. I don't want to go into the specifics of the actual original post, but there's an incident allegedly happened and the cops didn't do anything about it. And somebody gets, because all the cops are corrupt and blah blah blah. And I'm going, whoa, whoa, all cops are corrupt? I can't do that. Now again, understood that basically the cops themselves have to take care of weeding out, shall we say, the bad ones, because society can't do that. I can't do that. I can't go to the cop station and say, hey, officer such and such, you should remove him from duty because he's wrong. The cops themselves, and they, we watch enough crime dramas and police dramas to know that, if there's usually a bad cop, they make themselves pretty well known pretty quick, that the other cops should be able to say, hey, Joe over there is not fit enough or has the mental acumen enough or the emotional stability enough to be a police officer. But it's just like teachers, right? I've talked about this for many, many years. I had an absolutely fantastic, almost 99% across the board, running the board of fantastic, wonderful, compassionate, caring, passionate teachers in my entire life. My grade school, went on public school. High school, went on high school. Mohawk College, Redeemer. Absolutely wonderful, wonderful, wonderful teachers. I could name them all. I could give you a whole list of what they did for me as a person, as a kid, as a student, as whatever. I had one teacher, one teacher and one teacher alone, who should never, ever, ever have been given a teaching certificate. Never. And it's not just a personal, I have a great basis. I passed this course. Okay. I passed with a good color because I'm English major, right? He should never have been a teacher. He wasn't a good teacher, period. He wasn't a good teacher. He was a bully. He was arrogant. That arrogance is bad, but bullying in school and blah, blah, and demeaning, belittling, no. Like malicious. Like teachers back then in the 80s, there was a little more leeway for goofing around with the students and whatever. But this guy was a bully. He belittled, he diminished, he made people feel small, like the entire class. And he should never have been given a teacher. He was a bully that got a teaching certificate. But as a student at the time, what recourse do I have to remove this person from that job? And so you could say what you say about the cops, it should be said about but they're protected by the union. And so there should be substantive changes where people who shouldn't be in, I'm not saying like run them on a rail, we talked about that before, run them out on a rail, no, but they shouldn't be in the position they're in where they liaise with the public. They shouldn't be. That guy shouldn't have been here. He should not have been an officer of the law maintaining the peace in the community. He shouldn't have been. I got that the 5 minutes I talked to him. Maybe he had an off day. I highly doubt it. Right? Anyway, so that's a tangent. I'm going to get back into this in a sec, but I'm going to start out with a new video because this 16 minutes was just about that stuff. And I'm trying to keep that separate from this stuff. So I'm going to stop this and I'm going to do this, upload this one separately, possibly. We'll see. I'll talk to you in a bit.